So today we're going to take a look at YieldMax stocks that I have, and we're also going to get an update on the two swing trades that I have going on with Coca-Cola and Walmart. Hello my friends, this is Legend. So today we're going to take a look at a few YieldMax stocks that I do have, as I did purchase more shares of a couple of them. And we'll go over those. And then I also want to show where I'm at with my swing trades, as I was able to set a stop for one of them and ended up buying some shares of the other. So let's just go ahead and jump right into the Webull chart and get started. All right, so we're going to start right off here with MSTY. And as you can see, it is down, and we're looking at the actual chart. So it is down, right? It has been moving down for the last few weeks here. And if we take a look at MSTR, we'll see a very similar chart, right? There it is. It's moving down. And if we take a look at Bitcoin, and there we go, it's also moving down. So with all the above here moving down, we're not too surprised that MSTY is down. So back here on MSTY, as you can see, we did get as low as about 1484 today and as high as 1549 before closing at 1526. Let's switch it over to the adjusted chart and check out the indicators for MSTY. All right, here we are on the indicators. And as you can see, we are sitting on the bottom half of that Bollinger Band, and that RSI2 is still moving down, but it's only at 1835. So I did not purchase any more shares today for MSTY, and MSTR will look pretty close to about the same, so I did not purchase any shares of MSTR either. But as you can see, I still have that put right here, that $19 put that I am looking to roll, as this one does expire September the 19th. And I'm looking to roll it out to about the end of the year, first of next year, somewhere around that area. And I'm trying to get about 75 cents or something like that. And you can see I've got that order sitting right here, and that's that MSTY $19 put to roll to a MSTY $16 put. So that would be a nice $3 drop in the put itself, and also pick up about 70 bucks. That would buy me some time for MSTY to recover, to get back up above the 16 at least, right? So that's my plan there. I do have that order put in, and like I said, I think I've got it in there for about 75 cents per share, therefore about 75 bucks. It got close to it today before tailing back off. I just really hate that I missed it on that Tuesday opening, right? That was definitely the time to do it, but that's okay. I'll be patient, as I do still have a little bit of time left. So let's just take a look at MSTR. And as I said, it looks very similar. RSI2 is at 17.46. It is on the bottom half of the Bollinger Band. But since it did not trigger that 10 on the RSI2, I did not purchase any more shares of this one either. Now, do notice that it is getting tighter on that MACD, and I'm hoping to see a little cross up, but we really are hurting on that momentum right here. That momentum is red here still, but it's just not much. It is still very flat. And if we take a look at Bitcoin here, you'll see we have just been red as well on the momentum for Bitcoin. Now, it is getting close here to a nice little turn up, and I'm hoping to get across right here on the MACD so that we can start getting some green momentum and hopefully start pushing this price back up. Now, I do not want it to skyrocket back up. I do not want it to go from 110 here all the way back up to 124 in the matter of a couple of days or a few days, right? I want that to be over a matter of a few weeks, because MSTY cannot keep up with that. As MSTR would probably move up some with Bitcoin, it doesn't necessarily have to move with it. It's not a one-to-one move, but it could move up with Bitcoin moving up, especially if Bitcoin shot up, right? And I don't want that, because MSTY is capped on the upside. And if MSTY's capped on the upside, and if we saw MSTR jump up, well, we're just going to be hanging out down here for MSTY, right? We'll be waving bye to Mr. as it just takes off. So we want it to move up, but we want it to move up gradually, not shoot up, right? All right, so now let's take a look at ULTY right here. And as you can see, it is down. And of course, I did have a limit order right here of $5.50, right? Well, it ended up going down as low as $5.45, which therefore picked up my $5.50. And therefore that ended up purchasing me 25 more shares at $5.50. So I now have 125 shares at $5.71, right? So therefore my average is below the current price of ULTY, but I'm not too worried about this one because I still think it's just trying to find its bottom. It'll flatten out and then it'll start moving back up. But while it's giving me buying opportunities, I'm going to take advantage of it. And that's why I have another limit order at $5.40. So if that price here, which did go as low as $5.45, if it drops down to $5.40, then it's going to purchase me 25 more shares at $5.40. So that just helps bringing down my average price while ULTY is giving me the buying opportunities, right? I don't necessarily want to wait until it gets back to $6 and then start buying, right? I don't want to buy it when it's moving up because that's when a lot of times people want to buy stocks. They want to buy it when it's moving up because they get the FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. And they want that price move. They see that thing on fire and it's moving, so everybody buys. Well, nobody wants to buy when it's falling down. But yet, that's exactly what you do when you go to the store. You don't buy it when they say, hey, we just increased our prices by 10%. Come buy the stuff now. No, you're going to wait until there's a 25% off deal, and then you want to go buy it, right? So why would you not do the same thing with a stock or ETF, right? Why would you not want to buy it when it's on a discount? If you believe in it, and if you want that stock, then you want to buy it at a discount. Now, of course, that is not financial advice by all means, but that is how I am playing these particular ETFs. When they give me a buying opportunity, I'm going to take them up on it. So now let's just take a look at SMCY. And here we go on SMCY. As you can see, we did have a little bit of a green candle today. It did end up going up to about $14.47, and my average for my 30 shares I do have now is at $14.39. So for this one, I am in the green. I have not received any distributions yet because I purchased my first lump of shares after that ex-dividend cutoff time, right? That's when I made my purchase, and that's when the stock price dropped, right? But that's okay. I am currently green in the play so far. Now let's take a look at YMAX. And this is the other one that I ended up purchasing. And let me go over to the adjusted chart right here. And we can see those indicators for YMAX here. And we can see it is moving up, right? It did have an update today. We are getting close to that midpoint. And that RSI2 did turn up. So normally when I purchase, I'm looking for that RSI2 to be below 10, right? But for this one, it actually went up and I purchased. Well, why is that, right? Why did I not wait for it to move down? Well, it's just simple. The price is low. It's at $12.55. My average being at $18.66. Why not purchase a few shares at this price? Because that is just going to help bring down my average, right? It is still low, but I didn't necessarily want to wait for another opportunity like this right here, right? Where it is below that 10. And those would have been good opportunities right there. And you can see those prices would have been very nice buys. But again, you do have to be either watching it or you have to set your buy price, right? And I didn't have either one of them set up during this time. So rather than missing out here and at these prices, I went ahead and purchased a few more shares of YMAX, as I don't want to sit there and say, man, I wish I had bought some and now it's back to $14 or something like that, right? I want to buy it while it's low. It's way below my average buy price, So for this one, I just decided to buy a few shares just because. Now let's just go ahead and let's take a look at my swing trades. And the two swing trades that I do have open are KO for Coca-Cola and WMT for Walmart. So let's just look at Coca-Cola right here. And as you can see, we are on the bottom half of that Bollinger Band, and that RSI2 is right there on top of that 10. It's sitting at 1092, right? So it's right there at that 10. So I went ahead and took the opportunity to purchase a couple more shares of Coca-Cola because it was on the bottom of that Bollinger Band and that RSI2 at 10.92, and I'm looking for a 10. Yeah, that's close enough, right? That's close enough. So I made that purchase, especially off this big red candle, right? Because chances are tomorrow it's going to try to recover some of this red candle and move back up, just like it did right here. Now that's not guaranteed. It could move on down further, but I'll tell you what I'll do if it does move on down further tomorrow. Can you guess? That's right. I'm gonna buy a couple more shares. So currently right now I have 8 shares at 68.64, and that's my average. And the current price of Coca-Cola is 68.25. So I am pretty close to being about flat on this play right now, right? So all I need is if Coca-Cola can move back up above 68.64 and have an open and close green candle above that, I can start setting my stop at that MA5. And we'll take a look to see where that MA5 currently sets by doing this. And you can see that MA5 right now is sitting at 68.73. So it is just above my current cost. So if we get a nice little green candle tomorrow and it's above that MA5, then I can come in here and I can set that stop at about 68.73. just to protect myself on the downturn, right? Because if it does come down, trigger me, and sells my shares, then I'm looking for it to move on back down and test this 200 MA. Because if it does, I might end up buying it again, right? Because if it does that, I want to buy it down here after selling it for a profit up here, even though it's a small win. But it is a win. I don't mind if they're small wins or big wins, right? If it's a win, it's a win. You got to be willing to take the small ones, because if you're always looking for those home runs, a lot of times all you're going to do is strike out. And therefore, if we can get that green candle living up here, I'll set my stop probably right there at that MA5. I'm excited to find out if Coca-Cola is going to move on up. So the last one we'll check out here is Walmart. And here we are on Walmart. And I'm kind of excited about this one, right? I mean, look at this. It had that dip down and then just moving right on back up. Beautiful, right? Beautiful. So what did I do with Walmart? Well, our last video, we were looking at this candle right here. And it was going through that MA5. And since the fact that it was touching it, I did not set a stop, right? I wanted that candle, wick and all, to live above that MA5. And I've got it on this candle right here. As you can see, that MA5 is underneath it. That wick does not touch it. It gets close, but it doesn't touch it. So what did I do immediately? Is I put on my stop. And the first stop that I set was right here at this 96.26. Now my average buy price is 96 even. I am not looking to make a whole lot right there off of that stop, but that is for my protection right there. Now, once it opened today, and it opened way up here at 98.26, well, I'll tell you exactly what I did. I took that stop right there at that 96.26 that I had set yesterday evening, and I moved that right up to here, to 97.29. I moved it up to the candle right before it. Now, I could have put it right here at this MA5 and put it at 98.26, right? I could have, because of this huge gap between that MA5 and the candle, and I still can. But that is a pretty big gap, and it may want to try to come back down a little bit. So just to be on the safe side so that I don't get kicked out, because I don't necessarily want to get kicked out, right? I want to be able to ride it, but if it does come down, I want it to kick me out. So I got it set right there at that MA5 position at 97.29. And as you can see, I've got a stop limit order right here. Now it does say 97.25. And the only reason it shows that is because that's a stop limit order and it shows that limit price. And the limit price is 97.25. My stop price is 97.29. So therefore, what that means is when it comes down, if that price comes down and it hits 97.29, it will send it to the market for a market order. And I am saying that I am willing to sell my shares, and you can only pay me as low as 97.25, right? I have it capped on the bottom side at 97.25. Now they can pay me more than 97.25, and they can pay me up to 97.29, and they could actually pay me even more than that, right? If it did drop down, trigger my 97.29 order, but then jumped up to 97.33, I could get paid for those shares at 97.33. It just depends on what it goes through, because as soon as it gets triggered, it goes to the market as an open market order. So that means it will sell at whatever the market price is. And because of that, that's why I set that little floor, right? I set a floor saying, now don't be trying to sell my shares less than 97.25, because if it is lower than that, then you can't sell them, right? Now, a stop limit versus a stop loss. The difference is a stop loss order, you set one price, and if I set it at 97 and the price of Walmart drops to or below 97, it will sell it at the market price at that time, right? So it'll sell that market price. For a stop limit, what it does, like I said, is it comes down. If I have my stop at 97.29 like I have, then it will go to market and it will sell it between the prices of 97.25 or 97.29, or it will not sell it at all. It will sell it no lower than 97.25, but once it is at market, it could sell it slightly higher as well if the price did jump back up. So now, what's the advantages of a stop limit order? Well, if there's any strange or upsetting news for a stock after hours or overnight or something like that, and say, for this example, Walmart is at $100 even right now, and we'll just use that as an example, and there's bad news all of a sudden hits and the market just does not like the news, and overnight, the stock is still available to trade overnight, and all of a sudden it drops, right? And it drops down to $90 per share, right? For Walmart overnight. Say I've got that stop loss, okay? I've got a stop loss at 97. Not a stop limit, but a stop loss. So this price drops from 100 down to $90 overnight. Now, that stop loss does not trigger. Stop losses and stop limits do not work until market hours, all right? It only works during the market hours. It does not work during pre-market, post-market, or overnight. It only works during market hours. So after that, the price drops to $90. And you're not paying attention, right? Because you got to get up, you go to work and everything, and you've got your stop on there, so you feel protected, right? If there's something weird happens, it'll kick you out at that $97 and you're all good. Well, like I said, overnight it drops to 90. At market open, it actually opens at that $90. Well, what happens? Your stop loss gets triggered immediately. Well, you had it at 97, but the market price is $90. And whenever it gets triggered, it goes to the market price. Therefore, your stop loss of $97 now sells at $90, and you sell all your shares at $90. Well, you just bought them at 96 in my example here, just like what I'm showing right here. I bought them at 96, and they just sold at 90. So I just lost per share off of some bad news overnight. And we all know a lot of times that bad news comes out overnight and all of a sudden it drops, and then give it a few days and guess what? It seems to be right back where it was at. Now that's not guaranteed, but I've seen that too many times, right? Triggers everybody's stop loss, kicks everybody out, and they all become liquidity for someone to snatch up those shares, right? And then they're buying them up at 90 bucks, runs the price right back up to $100, and there you are. You're right back to 100 bucks per share, but you ended up having to sell your shares at $90. And that's because you just had a stop loss. Now for the example with the stop limit, it comes down and it opens at 90 bucks. Well, it is below that stop, right? But it still has that limit on it, right? That limit protects me from selling it at 90 bucks. It says I am not willing to sell any less than 97.25. And that's what this part of it is right here, right? That's that limit part. So if that price comes back up to 97.25, then it will sell from that price or more, right? But since it opened at 90, it's not going to sell. But it will not go through until it gets back up to 97.25. Well, I don't necessarily want to keep that open, because if I'm looking for Walmart to go from 90 and eventually move back up to 100 bucks, I don't want it to sell off at 97.29 or 97.25 while it's moving back up to 100, right? So I would just close that order. So I hope that kind of makes sense. The stop itself will go to market. The difference is if it's just stop loss, it goes to market and it sells immediately whatever that price is for market price. But the stop limit, it still goes to market because it did drop below or at your stop. But if it is below the limit, it will not sell them because it is below what you're willing to sell your shares for. Now you can set your stop limit range whatever you want. I set mine pretty tight just because that's what I've been doing, and until I find out it doesn't work well, I'll just keep it as is. So I wanted to explain that difference between the stop loss and stop limit, and I hope that helps. So with my stop currently now at this 97.29 right here, I'm excited, right? Because I purchased at 96, I've got my stop at 97.29 and the current price being 100 bucks. And tomorrow when it opens, if we're moving and it does not look like it's coming down, it looks like it might be moving up, I will probably end up moving it right up to the next green point at the MA5 being 98.26. Now, if it is coming down, right, if we do have a red candle, I'm not going to move it because I don't want to necessarily get stopped out. I'm going to give it room to breathe. I'll stay back here at my 97.29 and hopefully get around from it selling out. Now that can work for me or against me, right? Because it could continue to move down and still kick me out down here. And at that point, you would think, well, why didn't you move it up here and at least you would have got another $1 per share and still get kicked out, right? And that's up to your trading strategy, right? You make up your own rules. But for me, I like to give it a little bit of breathing room. So before we wrap everything up here, I wanted to show you my orders just to prove that I did purchase those shares. And here we are. As you can see, KO, I bought 2 shares at 68.20. YMAX, 8 shares at 12.50. ULTY, 25 shares at 5.50. And that's what we discussed in the video here. So I think I'm going to wrap it up right there. If you don't mind, hit that subscribe button, smash the like button. It would be much appreciated. And as always, I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Please do your own due diligence before you get into any stock plays. And until next time, Legend out.